Michael Virardi. It's our 129th Ask Virardi live streaming episode, and I'm so happy today to be in Athens, Greece, and to welcome a person that I truly admire, Dorothea Ioannou. Dorothea, welcome to the Ask Virardi show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's great having you. Let me say a few things about Dorothea. Dorothea Ioannou is the Global Business Development Director for SCB, which is the Ship Owners Claims of the American P&I Club. She's of Greek origin and was born and raised in New York, where she did her doctor's degree and also her BA degree. She worked in medical insurances, in criminal law since she's a lawyer, and since 1997 she has relocated in Greece. Dorothea also has worked in the Marine Insurance Claims Department, and from 2005 she has joined the Piraeus Claims Liaison Office for the managers of the American P&I Club. A few other things, because there are many. Yeah. Just to let you know that the American P&I Club is a marine insurer providing third-party liability insurance for ocean-going worldwide trading vessels. In 2010, she was the first ever woman, and this is an honor, to be appointed to the Executive Committee of the New York management company Ship Owners Claims Bureau, Inc. Mm-hmm. And in 2013, she was given the position of Regional Business Development Director for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Yeah. And since 2015, she holds the position of Global Business Director. I can go on and on and on. Just let me tell you that she has served on the board of Vista, and she's also part of Vista Nominations Committee, and that's where I saw her speaking live. That's where I was mesmerized. And that's the main reason I have asked Dorothea to be on the Ask Virardi show. So Dorothea, I'm tempted to say, tell us a few things about yourself, but what I will ask you is tell us, where do you find time to do all this and the rest that I left behind?
Okay. Thank you very much. Wow, that's, again, it's a pleasure to be here and an honor. And I really love the opportunity to be able to share some of what I've done and how I've done it, although I don't think there's any secrets. I think, how do I find time? I don't find time. There's not enough hours in the day. The truth is, it's just a matter of making choices, okay? So it's just about balancing things. So every day what I do is I think about what's on my list of things to do, what has priority, what has less priority, and then I, pick and choose and give more time to one and less time to another. And that may change the next day in terms of what I need to do. So how do I find time? I don't find time. I steal time. That's what I do. I steal time. And I think part of what has driven me just to keep going and keep doing more and more things, and also the other thing, as you know, I also raise a daughter by myself. I have an 18-year-old daughter, and so I'm always trying to do things like that too. So one of my mottos, I think, is being a restless person. It's always about what's next. I think that one of the things the way I've always lived my life is that when I decide I want something, I concentrate on it. I make realistic goals, first of all, and I make baby steps. I do. If you listen to everything you said, it was one step at a time, one small step. I didn't do anything from the bottom to the top. I did everything very, very, very slowly. So, but I do it 100%. And then I move on, and that's how I manage to get everything done. You give your
full self and your full attention.
Yes.
So Dorothea, what's more difficult, being a leader like yourself, and I will explain a while, or raising a daughter all by yourself?
I think raising my daughter is harder.
It's harder, huh?
Yes. I think that there's no matter how many books you read, there's nobody can teach you how to be a good parent. I think that especially when you're dealing with children, they're so unique. They're so unpredictable. You don't know. The other thing is, I think, is dealing with expectations. I think the biggest thing in life, and as a parent, that I found the most hardest to swallow and digest, is we all have expectations about how we think we're going to be as parents and how we think our children are going to be. And then it happens and it goes right out the window because it doesn't. Reality and expectations just don't match. So for me, one of the biggest things was dealing with how I had this image in my head, and then having to deal with it from a reality perspective that your kid doesn't fit into a box.
Unbelievable. I have before me a leader, and a very capable one. I saw you speaking in Cyprus during the Vista conference, and I truly admired you. So what, in your opinion, is the most important leadership quality, Dorothea? And also, because we have a younger generation watching, millennials, can you also give us one or two traits that our younger generation fans and friends can realize and put into great effect? What qualities?
Yeah, definitely. I think I think it's a whole load of qualities, and I think that there's no particular formula. I can tell you what's worked for me, what I found. For me, one of the biggest things I think that has helped me be good at what I do is having empathy. For me, a leader needs to have empathy. You need to be able to put yourself in the shoes of all of the other people that you work with, and whether they're above you or below you or equal to you. Because if you can feel and understand where the other person sits and what it is that they need, then you can figure out how to communicate with them. And then you can figure out what's going to motivate them. And not all people react the same way to the same types of communication.
Wow.
So you have to sort of get a feel for people. So you have to listen. So if you have empathy, you can be 10 times greater at anything you do, and whether that's professionally or personally. So that, for me, empathy is the biggest part of it. Let's say, just to name a couple of other qualities that I think are important, and I say this, and especially to the next generation, because I think the next generation, you know, some people might get upset with me, but I think they a little bit lack it, is patience. Patience. One step at a time. I think that when you do things one step at a time, then you end up standing on your feet stronger. Because, I mean, think about it. Think about it, and you're in the bottom of a stairwell, okay? It's really hard to take a leap and jump from the bottom to the top, right? Okay,
correct.
You're likely going to fall on your face. You're likely going to break your neck.
Lovely analogy.
But if you just look at the one step in front of you, and then when you get there and see how you like it, and then look for the next step and hang out there and figure out how much you like it, and then eventually it's going to take time, but you won't fall. You're never going to fall that way. You're always going to be steady, and you're eventually going to get to the top. So isn't your goal to get to the top, even if it takes longer? Isn't it better that way?
Right.
So that's the way I look at it. Patience. Another thing is always respect other people. Respect the value of everybody at the table, because you do not live or work in a vacuum. Okay? So you need to respect that. You need to understand and appreciate that each and every person in an organization or in a unit or on a team adds value. There's a reason that they're there. No one person can do it by themselves, otherwise it wouldn't be a team. It wouldn't be a team. And I say this even for the most fundamental people, even like everybody, from the admin to accounting, to the strategist, to the sales, to whoever it is, or even people in your lives. Everybody adds value. So you need to respect everybody's value and understand that you're a piece. You're no more or no less than anybody else. You're a piece, because even if you're an important piece, so is everybody else. If the other piece is missing, nothing can work.
Unbelievable.
You know?
As the Chinese say, the trip of 1,000 miles begins with the first step, as you said.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I'm getting all this positive energy from you. I could feel it in your aura now. I feel it in the air. It's fantastic. Third question. To reach an elusive term called success, you must have done some immense sacrifices. I heard some of them, but our fans and friends have not heard. They were not at Vista event.
Yeah.
So, Dorothea, can you please talk to us about the sacrifices that you have done, so our friends and fans, our younger generation, can realize that everything worthwhile comes at a certain cost?
Yes, and nothing is easy, really. And nothing that's really of value should be easy, okay? I think that's what I've learned in my life. I think success, I think we've spoken about this in the past. I think success is a relative term. I don't think that there's any particular, I don't think you can define success. I think success can only be defined by each individual. So, like, for example, I'm very flattered that you talked about me as a success story. And when we were in Cyprus, actually, I was called a success story. But if I told you today that all these things that you show that I've done, okay, and if I told you I'm not happy, Michael, I'm just unhappy.
Then you're not successful.
I'm not success, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So for me, success is about figuring out what it is that you want, okay? And when you make your choice, and if you achieve what it is that you want, if it makes you happy, then you are successful. If it doesn't make you happy, then you have to figure out something else to make your success, But also, let's put that aside, because I think that goes a little bit more of the sentiment and a little bit deeper in terms of what success means to people. If you want to just take the stereotype, if you want to just take an actual hardcore formula, well then, whatever you do, if you want to be successful about it, you have to put 100%, maybe 150%. So you have to work very hard, and that's the sacrifice. It's about putting the time in. For me, before I moved up, I actually just very concentrated very hard on being an excellent claims executive, being excellent at what I do. So I paid extra time and attention to every single case that came across my table, and I actually tried to figure out if there were any mistakes made. How could I fix that in the future? How could I become a better claims person? So it was about building credibility. I would not have been able to do anything else if I didn't build up the credibility of a person that had vast and deep and a very good fundamental base of knowledge in terms of handling marine insurance claims. So that meant, yes, that I tended to come in earlier. I tended to stay in a little bit later. It meant I looked and prioritized and figured out what was necessary. I read a lot. I didn't rest on simply even when I started to develop a good reputation, I didn't rest on that. I didn't just take that for granted. I continued to learn from everything. I continued to read. I continued to take courses. I continued to try and figure out how to do what I do better. So it's about investing the time. The time's relative. Some people need more time than others. So it's hard for me to put like a number of hours, you know.
And you shouldn't.
You shouldn't. And also, look, it's all about, like what I said before, it's about prioritizing, because sometimes, sometimes I would put less time in because I had other things of more importance that I needed to do. Let's say I had to go to my daughter's school. Let's say I had to, do other things. So it's about really judging on a day-by-day basis the time that you need in order to understand and become better.
Unbelievable. So before all these accolades have come in perfect, you have to do and get the basics right and do that little extra that turns ordinary into extraordinary. Unbelievable. Dorothea, as the Global Business Development Director at the American P&I Club, you're leading a team.
Yes.
I've seen your team, I've met your team. Talk to us about your management style and how important it is to your team and to your company and to your subsequent success. Yeah. What is your management style?
What is my management style? My management style is understanding that my team is actually the key. My team, not only my team, the global team, the organization's team, it's the key. It's what I said before when I talked about respecting others and understanding everybody's values. No individual can make a difference. So it's the collective input of all the people on a team or in an organization that makes the company go forward. So one of the things, I'll give you an example of how that's so important. I mean, when I first took over, when I was first appointed the regional director, I was appointed the regional director because before that, when I took over the Greek office, I started to think about how can we make ourselves a better service provider, or how can we actually make people aware that we're a better service provider, okay, because we are an excellent service provider. So what I started to do was I started to think, okay, the claims people, their jobs, they're lawyers, they're claims experts, they're maritime professionals, their job's not sales. Okay? But ultimately, if people don't know how good they are, well, then we can't move on. So I created this system of integrating the claims team into sort of a marketing type of system where I would make sure that when they would handle matters, they would make sure that they went to see the members. I would get them involved in events and industry events around, and including myself as well. So this way what we did was we created awareness by integrating the claims team into the sales side, into the marketing. It's about raising the profile and creating awareness. And that really started to work, and it actually made them a lot more in touch with the company and made everybody feel more better about what we were doing. But not only that, it helped other people understand more about what we were doing, because my team is excellent, but if nobody knows it, well, then that's useless, right?
Correct.
So then through that system, that whole model is what actually drew the attention of the company to start thinking about, well, maybe we can do that on a global basis. And so through having implemented that model here, then they asked me to take up, it was actually a new initiative, the business development. It didn't exist before 2013. So then they created this business development. I took on the regional, and then after putting this model together, they asked me to take on the global level of the business development and asked me to implement this model.
So a successful model being implemented across
on a global basis. Yeah. So then that also, then I had to then start getting involved in New York strategy, which I just fell in love with.
I know Greece, I know New York. Yeah. Are there any more teams that you handle?
Yes, there are 6 offices. So there's Houston, New York, London, Piraeus, Hong Kong, and Shanghai. So
Unbelievable.
Now I'm responsible for implementing this model or adapted models, because you also have to take into account culture and regional peculiarities. So we've taken that model, and it's come such a long way since I first started doing this. Now I oversee all of the business development and marketing activities and all of the strategic activities aimed towards growth across all the offices. And I try and integrate actually everybody into it. It's not about, I don't run a sales team. It's about running the organization in a strategy that can gear towards growth and getting everybody involved.
So let me ask, because you were very prompt in answering my emails, you were very prompt in answering back my phone calls, you handle teams that are different cultures, different countries, different time zones, different mentalities, and the only thing that's constant in this life other than change is the 24 hours that God gives us.
Yes, that's it.
How do you do that?
How do I do that? Well, look, I'm very, very lucky. Like I said, my team is excellent. So my managers are very good. So basically what we do is we come together every year and we have a summit, and we get all the heads of all of the different teams together, and we put together a strategy for the year. And then basically I oversee that strategy. I help people understand my vision, and I'm there, but I don't need to be on top of everybody. Everybody's fantastic. Everybody's really good at what they do. So they know how to take what it is that we're talking about and implement it locally. So so I'll travel. I'll go visit other offices. I talk a lot on the phone. We also do video conferences. The camera can't see it, but behind us is a huge TV screen. So we do video conferences, and I try and give insight to people on how we did it here in order to help them do it in other regions. But really, they do it. I don't do it. I don't do it. I'm there to give the guidance and to help on the strategy.
So you reinforce what the CEO of a Forex company told me recently about the Friday Rumble, where the XM, it was the XM Forex company, that they bring everyone together every Friday to discuss things. Yeah. All of them. From
we do. Yeah, we do what we call underwriting business development meetings every Monday for it's only about a 20-minute talk that we get together. We talk about things. We share. For me, the real key. And the whole key to the whole model was the shared business intelligence. So it's about people sharing information. The more people know, the more powerful we are. Not only the more we know about what each other is getting exposed to and what each other person is doing, the more powerful we are.
Unbelievable. Shared business intelligence.
Yeah.
Whoa, we can apply some of this in Greece. Guys, anyone who's watching and has any political influence, just know that Dorothea Ioannou might be up for this task as well, okay? Just insinuating. A rather personal question, if I may. How do you separate business and personal life? Do you put the phone down completely?
No.
No,
never.
You're honest, huh?
I'm honest. It's my weakest trait.
Okay.
It's my weakest trait.
So may I ask you if you have any tips for time management?
Yes, okay. Prioritize. I talked about it before. Prioritize.
Yes.
So you prioritize your sacrifices. So for example, me trying to balance my daughter and work, there's some days or some weeks, let's say, that the more emphasis is going to be put on my daughter, so I'm going to sacrifice my emphasis on work. And then there's going to be other periods where I'm going to have to, let's say, sacrifice some time with my daughter and to put more emphasis on work. But again, it's a matter of prioritizing. So for example, one of the discussions I had with my daughter was, I said to her, can you think of one time that you really needed me to be there and I wasn't there? And she said no. And for me, that was a success. Okay. So it's about prioritizing. You can't do everything all at once, and you can't do everything 100% all at once, but you can do everything 100% at different times. That's how I do it, okay? Then the other thing is, for me, this thing, it's like my I can't live without it. It doesn't have to be this type of phone, but you need to get organized. So you need to have some kind of a software that you can record. I record everything. Anytime I need to make a phone call, anytime it tells me something, I record it. It gets put into a task. And I can come back to it, and it goes on the calendar.
Marina, are you listening? That's my personal assistant.
And I have a lot of help, and don't be afraid to get help, and don't be afraid to ask people for help. If I didn't have help from a lot of people, I would not be able to do anything.
Totally correct.
Yeah.
Evizenos says you can create your time frame. That's what you were talking about.
Exactly. Thank you, Evizenos.
And Evizenos also saved the day for me, because the company that I've been to was IQ Options. XM called me today for seminars, so I got them confused. It's IQ Options. Thank you, Evis.
Yes.
What's the biggest lesson you learned this year or maybe last year, Dorothea?
Okay. What is the biggest lesson? Not this year.
Maybe last year or maybe the year before.
Yeah, I think all together. Throughout everything I've done, the biggest lesson is that I have a lot to learn. Yes. No matter how much I learn or how much I do, I always have a lot to learn. That's how I feel.
Wow.
And the other thing I've learned through my daughter, is I can't control everything. Yeah. And that is something that...
You're not saying this very convincingly, though, which if I turn it on its head means I can control everything by using these techniques.
The problem is I try, and but I've learned that I can't. So I try and control as much as I can.
Coming from a person like yourself, with those accolades that I have a lot to learn, I'm really impressed. Yeah. And this is not my line, it's Dorothea's line. I just noted it down. Read, not rest. Yes. Which I loved it very much. Yeah. Do you have a mentor? If yes, who's your mentor, and what's the biggest lesson that you learned from him or her?
I have been very lucky. I've had 3 mentors in my life. I had the mentor from when I was first born, that was my grandmother, who taught me about pride without arrogance. I cannot stress that. We all, no matter what we do in life, no matter how successful we are, no matter how proud we are, we always have to have that level of humility. It is the only way that we can ensure that people will always enjoy being around us.
Wow.
Seriously. So my grandmother, she really injected those fundamental principles, and she also injected the principle in me of always thinking about how I would want somebody else to act with me, and always act that way. That's how I live my life. That was my grandmother. Then I was very lucky in my career to have 2 mentors. One was Ioannou, which was the first job I got in marine insurance here. And she's the one who first started to teach me that I have a lot to learn. Because when I first joined her company, I came with experience in New York. I had a Juris Doctorate, I was a lawyer, I had a BA, I had all this education, I had a certificate in international practice, and I just thought, I'm just going to blow everybody away. Well, she sat me down and she told me, I get it, you're very intelligent, you have a lot on, you've done a lot of things, even at this young age. I think I was like 26 or 27 at the time.
That was 3 years ago.
Yeah, I wish. And she said to me, but let me tell you something, in this industry, in marine insurance, and especially in Greece, she says, you have a lot to learn. And she was the first person who said that to me. So she said, just sit, be patient, and listen. And so it was very, very good.
There's a third person coming?
There's a third person coming. Sorry, I know I'm trying to get through this. Yeah. My mentor now is our COO of the Managers of the American Club. His name is Vince Solarino.
Vince, I met.
Yes, he was at the Success Stories.
Hello, Vince.
Hi, Vince. He's probably sleeping still right now.
He's going to watch it later on.
Yes, and he is the one who really helped me bring it all together in this latest point in my career to become a solutions provider. He helped me understand how I can take a really impossible problem and make it possible to solve. He helped me understand how to approach things, how to reverse engineer things, and figure out how to, and basically to have the confidence to know that no matter how complicated it is, there is a solution.
True.
Yeah.
And Vince took the microphone in Cyprus just after you finished. Yeah. And I thought of giving up my motivational and inspirational career because the guy was superb. Guys, something I neglected to say, but you will be very happy to hear this. If you share this episode, or if you mention someone that you think is worth watching this episode, you get a chance to be coached by this lovely lady and professional. You get a chance to spend time here at Dorothea's offices and be coached by Dorothea. And you also win a bag of gifts, American gift bag, American Club gift bag.
Nice things.
So if you do share this episode or mention someone. One question before last.
Yes.
Please name a book that has positively influenced your personal and professional life. How and why? Not only the title.
And not only the title. Okay, it was a book called The Last Lecture. Randy
Pausch.
Yes, The Last Lecture.
Pancreatic cancer. Died of unbelievable, yes.
And it was literally his last lecture. And it was very interesting because it was given to me by one of my claims executives, Despina. Hi, Despina. She's in the London office now. Despina gave me this book, and it was very touching because she wrote, Dear Dorothy, this book is totally you. Please enjoy. And I read the book in one night. Yes, I read the book in one night. And because let me tell you something. I mean, all of these things, I had many years of education. I have a lot of experience. But I've never actually taken any courses or done any formal training in people management or keys to success or anything like that. I just always followed my gut instinct. Really, that's it. If something felt wrong in my life, I didn't do it. If it felt right, I did it. That's how I live it. It's instinctive. And when I read this book, I read my whole life just unravel in front of me, and I saw how everything, the way I live my life, is actually like a method, and it was a revelation for me, and it just confirmed that what I was doing was the right thing to do. And it was a very moving book, because this was a man who was writing his last lecture because he was going to die, and basically he died. It was very, very sad, but it was very inspirational for me, and it helped me realize that I was on the right track. That's what it did for me, and it helped give me more confidence. Yeah.
Wow. I am tempted to ask the last question, but before I ask it, and since it's such a lovely, beautiful day outside at the Piraeus port, may I ask if I'm allowed to ask the last question, if we can take our fans and friends on a trip and take them outside there on a journey?
Yes, we can, but you know what I'd love to do, please, because we've been speaking about my team. Can we meet my team?
Yeah, let's meet your team, but just before we do that, let me recap on what Dorothea has said. Dorothea has said that people make choices. And in order to make choices, you have to prioritize what you do first, second, third, or not at all, where you procrastinate. And if you do that, you allocate your time effectively and efficiently so you can manage many things. She said that you are a piece. As the African proverb says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go with others. Yeah. And you have to respect people. Things that have helped her become a leader is showing empathy, understanding, and walking in other person's shoes and understanding their situation. She talked about patience, still has to do with walking in shoes one step at a time, baby steps towards your eventual success, and then you have to respect people, respect their cultures, respect their mindset, their values, and everything. At the end of the day, Dorothea said that success equals happiness, and happiness equals success. You might be able to have all the accolades in the world, but if you are not happy, then you are not successful. She talked about prioritizing your sacrifices. I loved it very much. Read, not rest. And not all readers are leaders, but all leaders are readers, my dear friends. That's what I see. And finally, she talked about her mentors. I will stick with her grandmother, who taught her about humility, about being having pride without being arrogant. And last but not least, the last lecture, a fantastic book. Yes. I urge you all to read that book. Definitely. So let's unhook our microphones. Let's go and meet Dorothea's team. And let's walk around her office.
Right there.
Please stay with us, friends and fans. Let's go around the office. I'll put my microphone back so people can hear. And Dorothea will walk us. From Dorothea. Let's go and meet the team. Guys, let's go and meet the American P&I Club. Let's go. Here we go.
Okay, here we'll start over here with Marivi, our deputy claims manager.
Hello, how are you doing? Everything okay? All well. Thank you very much for hosting us.
Having you here.
Excellent. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. I've never seen a leader walking me around like this.
Let's take a left over here.
Yes.
And we'll go to the Naya and Adonis.
2.5 people here because you have a pregnant lady.
Hello, hello.
We have a new member of the team coming very shortly. We're very excited.
Yeah, the new member has priority to work here if they want. Please join me. Yes.
And here's Chrysanthi, another one of our claims executives, and also a Chinese speaker, by the way.
Yes.
Greek and Chinese
speaker. You can see these guys
time
here.
In our Chinese
diverse
office,
talents. Yes.
Stavrula, the backbone.
Stavrula, thank you very much for organizing my trip here. You've been fantastic, and for sending Vasilis, the driver. He's excellent.
Yes, he is.
He is.
And then we've got Harris here, our intern.
Harris for all you young girls who are single, a good-looking guy. Thank you.
Then we have Christina, our administrative support.
It's good to see you, Christina.
And dear to us. And Kostadina is also our latest intern here for the summer.
Guys, if you see my book in all offices, don't think that it's a best-selling book. I just brought it as a gift, okay? So, Dorothea, can we go?
Yes,
can we go outside?
And let's head out. Heart of Aktimiaouli.
Yes. And I will ask you our last question, which is a message for all our friends and fans. But let's go out there.
Okay. I'm gonna have to open the door now. Okay.
After you.
Yes.
After you.
Wow. Here we go.
Let's stand with our backs.
Yes,
there.
Definitely. There we go.
And you can speak into my microphone.
Yes, okay.
So, a last message for our fans and friends, Dorothea, please.
Okay, I have just a few little things. One thing is, whatever you do, make sure you live your life the right way. Always remember that whatever you give out, it's what you get back. That's what you get back, and wonderful things can happen that way. Another thing that I've always followed is always be generous. Generous whatever that means to you, always be generous, because again, whatever you give will come back to you tenfold, believe me. And I think, what else can I say? Oh yes, I remember, be nice.
Wow, beautiful. Let me give you a kiss. Thank you for having us. You were fantastic.
Thank you.
Dear friends and fans, thank you very much for tuning in, and see you all next Monday at our Ask Virardi show. Bye-bye. Take care. Bye.